directly before they've had the diplomats meet directly. And the diplomats are supposed to strike the deal. And only when the deal is struck do you then put the leaders together so they can just look like, yay, we're winners. Look what we did. Mm-hmm. So Rubio said that he met with his counterpart in Ukraine and that they reached a deal on the rare mineral earth materials, that they were going to start giving us some portion of them to pay us back for all of our investment there. And also to keep us economically invested in the harvesting of those minerals on a go-forward basis, which Trump sees as a security guarantee for Ukraine. If we're over there, our economic interests are over there mining these minerals, Putin, his theory is, will be less likely to invade again or do anything to upset Ukraine. So that's where they got. Marco Rubio said it publicly. Zelensky suddenly said there's no deal. Rubio comes out and says, this guy constantly does this. Yeah. You know, like we did have a deal. Now he's saying no. Then the news came, yes, there is a deal. And Zelensky comes to the Oval and apparently uses it as an opportunity to tell Trump, once again, he can't trust Putin. I mean, this is just dumb. This is dumb diplomacy on his part. But here's another soundbite we just got. And we would like all of you to fully understand what took place in total. This thing lasted 49 minutes. President Trump started the meeting complimenting President Zelensky and the Ukrainian soldiers.
Your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself.
It was very gracious of the president. He told Mr. Zelensky it was an honor to have him in the Oval Office. Trump's doing the right thing there. He's glad-handing. He's paying him compliments. He's showing him respect. Mr. Zelensky, in return, thanked President Trump for the invitation and said he hoped the minerals deal would be the first step to real security guarantees. He then took out a series of photos to show President Trump. They pictured Ukrainian prisoners of war held in Russian captivity. It was Mr. Zelensky's way of saying to President Trump, this is who you are dealing with. President Trump looked at the photos, expressed sympathy, and said that's why we need this war to end. Contrary to what critics will have you believe, it was President Zelensky who publicly challenged President Trump in his face first, several times, in fact, in front of the cameras. Mr. Trump repeatedly kept his cool. Mr. Zelensky openly disagreed with the president when talking about Europe's contributions to the war. Watch.
Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less support, but they're our friends and they are our very supportive partners. They really gave a lot, Mr. President. They did.
They gave a lot, but they gave much less.
No.
Much less.
No. No.
No. Okay.
You can see they had a little disagreement. For the listening audience, they both leaned in on their point, and Trump sort of jokingly, warmly, in a friendly manner, kind of touched Zelensky's arm like, oh, I kind of agree to disagree. It was good. It was a nice moment. They laughed it off and they kept going. A few minutes later, President Zelensky again publicly challenged Mr. Trump over his assertion that Russian President Vladimir Putin never broke a deal with Ukraine during Trump's first term in office.
25 times he broke a ceasefire.
But he never broke to me. He never broke to me.
No, you were the president. You were the president during.
He never broke to me.
In 2016, you've been the president, Mr. President. You've been the president, but he had, of course, not with you, but he had during those periods, he had conversations with our side. And we had Normandy format, you know, the France, Germany, Ukraine, and Russia. And he broke it 25 times. That's why we will never accept just ceasefire. It will not work without security guarantees. Security guarantees, maybe President is right about this document and other, but this document is not enough.
President Zelensky spoke for several minutes on this topic, making his case for why he does not trust President Putin. President Trump did not interrupt him once. It happened one more time before the big blow up. And let's be honest, every diplomat knows there is risk in doing this to another world leader. And in particular, if that leader is Donald Trump. He does not like to be confronted in this manner. And that's completely acceptable and normal. Look at how Benjamin Netanyahu handled the time with Joe Biden. You don't think he wanted to punch Joe Biden in the face many times when he came to visit the White House over what he was saying? But he handled himself with charm, with respect, with dignity, and never openly antagonized the guy from whom he was asking so much. Okay, so Zelensky went at it again, having already gotten away with this a couple of times. He decided to press his luck. This time, he even went so far as to accuse President Trump of getting his information in the form of propaganda directly from President Putin.
A lot of cities have been destroyed. A lot of cities that are not recognizable. There's not a building standing.
No.
And a lot of things
Mr. President, you have to come and to look. No. We have very good cities. Yes, a lot of things have been destroyed, but mostly cities alive. Ukraine is fighting and Ukraine lives. This is very important. And maybe it's Putin is sharing this information that he destroyed us.
What's that? So he interrupts President Trump as he's speaking and then says he's wrong, only to then admit that Trump is right. There has been a lot of destruction, but there are cities that are still intact. Well, Trump didn't dispute that. What's he doing? He's poking the bear over and over. Why would you do that to somebody whose support you must have, you desperately need? Why was he in there antagonizing Trump? I mean, in particular, this would be antagonistic to any of us, but in particular to President Trump, and he knows that, as do all world leaders. It is what it is. Deal with it. But once again, President Trump let the comment slide. He was staying above it. He did not engage, though he was being directly challenged publicly. President Trump even said at one point, quote, "We haven't committed, but could conceivably," end quote, commit U.S. troops to Ukraine after a peace deal is reached. That was a huge moment and could have been a huge win for President Zelensky to take home, because Trump has said exactly the opposite thus far, but he did not take the W. Aside from his vocal criticism and interruptions and challenges of President Trump before the open argument that we all saw, Mr. Zelensky's body language also caught the attention of many observers. When President Trump was talking about not wanting any more death on either side, Mr. Zelensky raised his eyebrows and sighed.
We have tremendous death taking place as we speak, and I don't want to have that. Think of the parents, whether they're in Russia or Ukraine, think of the parents of all these people being killed needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started. If I were president, this would have never started.
He also shook his head, shrugged, sighed, and rolled his eyes several more times while President Trump was making his points. Watch.
I don't think you're going to need much security. I think once this deal gets done, it's over. Russia's not going to want to go back, and nobody's going to want to go back.
And who would protect
Shaking his
those
head.
minerals if they are U.S. interests? Would that be Ukrainian
They'll be
forces?
protected. The
European
agreement
forces?
will protect them.
US
The agreement, yeah, we're signing an agreement.
Right, but what if Russia
Raise eyebrows.
tries to invade, or there's Russian aggression in those spots?
I just told you, I don't think that's going to happen. And if that were going to happen, I wouldn't make a deal. If I thought that was going to happen, I wouldn't make a
Head shake,
deal.
sigh. Okay. If you don't think there's been other world leaders in the Oval with this president or are others who wanted to shake their heads no while our president was making a point, they didn't agree at all, who wanted to say, they attacked us. You don't think Netanyahu would have liked to have said that to Biden? They attacked us. They attacked us in the middle of his remarks, yes. But there's a diplomatic way of handling this. And instead, the left would just like to blame Donald Trump. They don't want to acknowledge any of these minor and then cumulative, serious provocations and antagonistic behaviors. These were just the gestures that we saw when Zelensky was on camera. We didn't see the whole, we didn't see anything that happened when he was off cam. There very well may have been more that Vice President Vance and other officials in that room witnessed. And when the big blow up happened, Mr. Zelensky also addressed in that critical moment as the tension was building Vice President Vance using only his first name, saying, "What kind of diplomacy, JD, are you speaking about?" It was an informality that could be used in a warmer moment, like JD and I had lunch and really made a lot of progress. That wouldn't be totally out of line. But in a moment that is tense and in which you can feel there's an argumentative dynamic, you don't address the sitting American vice president as JD. It felt disrespectful to a lot of Americans. And then came the moment seen around the world.
What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't know
God
that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not
you
have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
No
You're
dictate.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm-
That's
with
backed
all respect to
you
your
far
country.
more than a lot of people said
I'm wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting, you said thank
Even
you.
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United
what
States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
We are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if,
West
if you didn't
You
have our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
It's so interesting because Trump held his fire until Zelensky suggested that the United States was under threat. And Trump was not going to let him